I was not always a Christian. I grew up in what I would call a semi-Christian home, meaning this. We went to church on Easter and Christmas. And as you got older, mom and dad stopped going and just sent us. Uh, by the time I was about 12 or 13, both my parents could have been easily classified as alcoholics. My dad was a very serious gambler. Uh, I remember the first time I hugged my dad, I was probably 25 years old. I'd just come back from combat in Iraq. And so in my community, the most militant, the most outgoing, the most missional people were the Muslims. They stood out on the corner. They cleaned up the crack houses. They were really out voicing their opinions. And so the community that I came out of, it was a natural gravitation towards that. It was either join them or join a gang. So by the time I got old enough to really pick and choose what I was going to follow, I found myself following Islam. I was probably very radical, mad with the system, mad with the world, as most inner city young men are. I was a big part of the hip hop culture, was part of a hip hop group. We had signed a record deal. And even when I initially joined the Army, I was still into Islam. And what happened to me, there was a guy named Frederick Smith who just befriended me. And we would play basketball. He would come pick me up on Saturdays. We would just ride around. And before I knew it, I was asking him questions about Christianity. You know, why did he do this? Because in my mind, at that time, I saw Christians as very weak people. Really, I just saw them as hypocrites, people who talked a whole lot but did very little to change the community. Before I knew it, I was in a Bible study and giving my life fully to Christ. And the thing that I say probably really has been the greatest impact on my life, making the transition from Islam to Christianity, that same radicalness that I had in Islam, I found that in the Bible with Jesus and the disciples. And nobody had ever told me that story before. Nobody had ever told me how Christ had laid down his life. Nobody had told me how he went into the synagogues and turned over the money tables. Nobody had told me how his disciples dropped everything and they had this radical view. Nobody told me about the cost of following Christ until I met Frederick Smith. And so that transformation really, that relationship, him being missional enough, as Bill Hybels would say, him just walking across the room and starting a conversation with me that didn't start with you're going to hell, you need to be saved, you're this, you're that, but really finding out who I was and where I came from is really what led me to Christianity. And so in my heart, I have a huge pull to reach young men in the inner cities who are in like circumstances because I've come to realize most are not Muslims because of family heritage or by choice. It is just the best option that's out there on the street to them right now. And so a lot of times I encourage pastors to just engage them where they're at. You know, don't worry so much about converting them right away. Get to know them, build a bridge of relationship because that's what's worked best for me. You know, it's funny. I was reading a book called Rethink the Church. And in the part on evangelism, it said we needed to do three things as Christians. It says, first of all, we needed to first find a need. Then we needed to build a bridge. After we've built the relational bridge is that we simply need to give them an invitation to an event or just to hang out with Christians before we even get to the point of having a conversion conversation with them. I think sometimes we're so busy with just trying to get numbers, that we forget that we're dealing with people and that it's all about relationships. And so for me, that was 18 years ago. I've had the privilege of leading hundreds of Muslims to Christ. I've had the privilege of being in places like Angola and being face-to-face with radical guys who were Islamics and then seeing them come to love and appreciate Jesus Christ in a real way. You know, and it's funny to me that in our current culture, there's so much fear when it comes to Islam or it comes to Muslims, and that really just comes out of a misunderstanding. I think that as Christians, if we take the time, whether they're Muslims or Hindus or Buddhists, if we take the time to walk across the room and find out and build relationships, we'll find out that they love their children like we love our children. They love their wives like we love our wives. They want to be successful like we want to be successful. And that if we build that relationship bridge, there will come a time when we can offer them Jesus Christ in a real and a meaningful way. And more than likely, I mean, man, this irresistible grace, who could resist Jesus? And so I'm excited about the possibilities, especially here in Houston. You know, over 300 people groups, over 250 languages being spoken. I mean, I often hear the staff of UBA say, there's no need to go to the world because the world is coming to us. It's right here in our backyard. So, you know, before you go off to some Muslim country and try to convert the whole country, why don't we just start working with those who are all around us every day?